Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pace University's first generation information session. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to kind of trickle on in before we jump into things. But thanks so much for joining us, and we're going to get started in just a sec. Right, and as everyone starts making their way in, I want to introduce myself. My name's Alexa Dalbis. I'm one of the admissions counselors here at Pace University. We are so excited to welcome our friends in student affairs to join us tonight and talk to you all about what it's like being a first generation student at Pace, all of the amazing opportunities and resources that you have available to you. And we also have two amazing first generation students with us, Kendra and JJ, who are going to talk to you all about the amazing experiences that they've had as a Pace University student. But without further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Erica Schmidt, who's going to kick things off for us.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Be Proud to Be first generation student, how to be a successful first gen student here at Pace. Just to kind of, before we get started, a few just quick reminders. All of you will have your microphones muted and cameras hidden, but at any point, if you want to ask questions, we do have a question and answer period, so feel free to put those questions in the chat. That way, either myself, Kayla, or Sev, who are our PACE staff, or our students, Kendra and JJ, can answer your questions. And this will also be available on YouTube after, so if there's any good information here you want to watch again, that will be available. So in terms of who we all are today, my name's Erica Schmidt. I'm the coordinator for student affairs here at the Pleasantville campus.
Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Bettikini and I'm the assistant director for orientation and transitions, also on the Pleasantville campus.
And hi everyone, my name is Severino Randazzo. I am the assistant director of orientation and campus activities, and I work on the New York City campus.
And Kendra and JJ, I know we're going to have you come in later, but why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves as well?
I'll go first. So I'm Kendra. I'm a junior here at Pace. I'm studying management and psychology, and I'm really excited to be here with you guys.
And I'm JJ. I'm a sophomore digital journalism major. I have a minor in sports media and broadcasting. And I'm very excited to be speaking with you all today.
All right, so one of the first things we kind of just want to touch on is what exactly does it mean to be a first gen student? There are several different definitions on what it means to be first gen, how students identify themselves at first gen. But at Pace, the definition that we use most often is a first gen student is a student who does not have a parent with a bachelor's degree and will be the first child in their family to earn one. If you're someone who maybe has a parent who got their degree internationally and you'll be the first to get a degree in the US, there are many other definitions. So if you are here today and you consider yourself first gen in this particular definition, doesn't quite fit where you're at, that's okay. Like I said, there are many, many definitions in terms of what it means to be first gen.
And along with defining first gen, we also wanted to provide some facts and figures. So 1/3 of undergraduate students in the United States identify as first generation students. Approximately 28% of undergraduate students have parents with some college experience, but not a bachelor's degree. So their parents may have attended some college, but just did not complete. And then one thing that we love to share is 49% of Pace University students identify as first generation students. So we share this because for incoming first gen students, we want students to know that you're not alone here. There are a lot of resources and a lot of students that identify as first generation students as well.
We have some national statistics to point out, not because we want to discourage anyone, but because we do want to be upfront about what first gen students are up against. We have so many resources available at Pace specifically so first students can succeed. But nationally, first gen students are more likely to leave school within 3 years, and fewer first gen students are on track to graduate within 3 years after enrollment in college compared to their peers, other students who are not first gen. First gen individuals earn less than their peers, and within the past 10 years, research showed that first gen students are less likely to complete their degree within 6 years. We have so many resources at Pace as far as programs, services, faculty and staff, which can all help first-gen students beat these odds and help you succeed. And we're going to talk about some of those resources today and provide some advice.
Before we talk about some of those resources, we did want to show you some familiar faces that also identify as first-generation students. So some people here that you might recognize are first-gen: Michelle Obama, Bill Clinton, Sonia Sotomayor, and Albert Einstein, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Oprah Winfrey. So we did want to present some of the challenges that first-generation students face. Like all students, first-generation students do face challenges, and here are some. And that's one of the reasons why we're here. We're here to support students and address any of the challenges that you may face when you come to college. So first and foremost, first-generation students typically take on more financial responsibility for their education. So whether that's taking on more student loans, working more jobs to get through college, you're typically taking on some more financial responsibility and ownership over your education. And first-generation students are also members of, typically also members of underrepresented racial or ethnic groups.
Another challenge is first-generation students may seek out additional assistance to acclimate to the college environment. As you know, being the first in your family to go through this experience, a lot of first-gen students don't really have somebody that they can turn to let them know what to expect. And that's totally okay. You know, on behalf of, you know, all the staff members on this call, we always would rather work with students who ask too many questions than not enough. You can never ask, you know, enough questions. We want to point you in the right direction. If any of us don't know the answer, we are always very good about putting you in touch with the right person. So don't be shy. You know, feel free to put questions in the chat now if you'd like, if you have something on your mind, but it's totally fine and normal to ask for help. Another challenge is commuting to school. At Pace, we have a lot of students that do need to commute, some by choice, some need to, whether it's for financial reasons, whether, you know, you might be somebody that has children and you need to go back and forth picking, you know, your kids up while you're in school, jobs. So commuting to school can be a challenge. It's time that you're in your car, away from your studies, away from campus that you need to factor into your day. And depending how far your commute is, you know, that can be inconvenient. That could be an extra challenge to work around it while you're at school.
First-gen students often attend college part-time and work more hours per week while attending college. I think those two things often go together. First-gen students might take less classes per semester, which makes them part-time students. That could be because they have full-time jobs or part-time jobs, or perhaps you're dependent upon that income to support your family, to support the funding of your education. And so you might not have as much time to dedicate to studying or getting involved in clubs and activities. So I think time management strategies are especially helpful to first-gen students who might have to work significant hours at a job while also attending classes.
So at this point, we'd love to hear from some of the participants. We have a bunch more to come in terms of resources that we offer at Pace. But if anyone would like to share some challenges that you're seeing, whether you're on this webinar as a student, whether you're on here as a family member, we would love to hear from you. And you know, those could be challenges in terms of the application process, maybe a challenge where you don't know what your next step is because you've applied to college, maybe you've been accepted, maybe you had issues navigating the college application process while you were in high school. So if anyone has any challenges that they'd like to share that maybe, you know, we can talk through or address, feel free to put those in the chat. And again, our student panel here, we have JJ Perdito as well as Kendra Descano. They are here to answer questions from a student perspective. They're monitoring the chat. So if you have anything specific for our students, by all means, let us know. And we're gonna have them weigh in on a few questions in a little bit. But in terms of how I can support my first-gen student, I know we probably have some family members on here. The first point might seem very simple, but let them know they aren't alone. Oftentimes we have students who feel, you know, they're the only ones going through this experience. All of their friends have family members whose parents were educated through college, who have older siblings that went to school. But based on the numbers we shared earlier, so many of our students, almost 50% of PACE students are first gen, and we have a community to support our students, specifically first-gen students, which we'll talk more about our mentoring program.
Be proud and let them know. First-gen students are pioneers. This is an exciting path that they're beginning, and you should let them know that and reassure them. I know the first-gen students that are in our mentoring program right now are just so proud to be first-gen students. I'm sure if you ask JJ and Kendra, they would tell you the same thing. We gave out some t-shirts earlier this year in the mentor program, and they wear them proudly. It is a point of pride for them, you know, as it should be. And so just don't be shy about showing your support to your first-gen student. And college is a great time to learn about yourself or learn about the world, your place in it, and just know that it is okay to fail. That's how we learn. Sometimes we learn our greatest lessons coming back from a failure or a mistake. You just pick yourself back up, try again. You're not going to do everything perfectly the first time you try it, and you're not expected to know everything about an experience that is new to you. So really encourage your students to rely on faculty, staff, your peers, take advantage of PACE's programs, resources to help support your student and to answer any questions they might have.
We also recommend that you encourage involvement. And what that means is not just involvement in their studies, but involvement inside and outside of the classroom. So getting to know their faculty members and their professors, their advisors and their academic advisors and their the staff members in their academic schools, but also just getting to know different students and staff members that work in offices like ours. So I work in the Office of Student Development and Campus Activities. So we want students to be involved on campus and you know, in student organizations and working with other individuals on campus that like doing things similar to them. And also ask questions, be excited and be interested. So the more you're interested in your students' experience, the more they're going to share and the more they're going to tell you about what's going on, both, like I said, inside and outside of the classroom.
So in terms of how to excel as a first-gen student, navigating campus is obviously something new. We have tons of clubs and organizations on our campus. I'm quickly going to turn to JJ because I know he's super involved on campus. JJ, do you want to talk a little bit about maybe how students find clubs that they're interested in or organizations to connect with?
Yeah, so it's a little different now from when I was a first-year student. It was really easy to just go to involvement fairs and, you know, sign up for different clubs and organizations. Now it's mostly on social media and through emails, which is even, you know, just as effective as it was, you know, before we were relying on, you know, the internet. But the thing is with PACE is that it's such a small, tight-knit community, is that when you meet one person, you're likely going to meet others. I write for our school newspaper, the PACE Chronicle now, because I worked with the managing editor in a project that I was helping out. So it's very easy to make connections and branch out from just meeting one or two people. And it's very easy to get many, many different positions on campus. I mean, Erica knows, Kayla knows, I'm very heavily involved on campus. I have a lot of positions, a lot of clubs. I barely have, you know, any time to myself, but it's all the worth it. And it's been quite easy, you know, getting heavily involved on campus like I am.
Really want to encourage you to speak to professors during office hours. Most instructors will have office hours, and they'll usually list them right on the syllabus that students will receive the first day of class. Maybe during this time they are remote hours on Zoom or times when they're available on the phone, but they will have office hours or availability for students. So please, please, please take advantage of that. Maybe you have a question about an assignment, or maybe you're particularly interested in a topic that you're discussing in your class right now or learning about right now. Maybe you want to chat more about that. The faculty members really want to get to know their students, so please do take advantage of that and let them know, or let them get to know you. Utilize the Learning Center. PACE offers tutoring for so many courses. Right now they're doing all the tutoring online and it is by appointment only, but they always have evening hours as well as daytime hours to accommodate whatever your class schedule might be or your work schedule. There's also a writing center to help you edit or improve your papers. They also offer workshops on specific topics throughout the semester. They also do academic coaching, academic mentoring, and these services are available to any PACE student, and you're already supporting these services in your tuition and fees. So we always encourage students, please do take advantage of these services.
And obviously we touched on this before, how important it is to ask questions. We have so many different resources on campus when it comes to that, whether it's your teachers, whether you choose to have a mentor, our staff are great resources to ask questions. And speaking of mentors, Kendra, I know you're involved in, I think, multiple mentor programs. Do you want to briefly touch on your experience being a mentor or possibly having one to our students that are on this call to give them some ideas about how that might help them ease into college and what that has to offer?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a junior now, and over the past 3 years, I've had so many experiences, both having mentors and being a mentor on campus. Both roles, being a mentor and a mentee, have played such a huge role in my success at PACE. From doing well, like professionally, academically, and personally, like all of the mentors that I've had, I felt have really cared about me and like wanted me to be successful at PACE. So they've definitely helped me a lot. And even as a junior, I still seek out mentors myself. One of my first mentors coming to PACE was someone that I met in a leadership program that I became a part of. This person really helped me to become involved on campus, especially as a commuter student. Like they really connected me to different organizations and things like that. And they also just helped me like transition to the class style and things like that because they can be very different coming from high school to college. So also being a successful student. And this program specifically is really great. For a first gen student because your mentors know exactly what you're going through. They're first gen students themselves and they've experienced all of these things coming in as a freshman. So they're able to answer all of your questions, support you as you transition, and direct you to all of the people that you need to be successful.
Perfect. Thanks, Kendra. We're going to touch more on the mentoring program at both the Pleasantville and New York City campus in a minute. But before we do that, we're going to chat about some of the other resources that we offer here at PACE. And one of those resources is the Counseling Center and Student Accessibility Services. We have a great counseling team at both of our campuses that have walk-in hours. They deal with a lot of things, whether it's students adjusting to the college environment, whether they might be having some issues in terms of anxiety, depression, whatever it might be. We have all of this available. We have relaxation rooms for our students and student accessibility services. That's a really valuable resource that a lot of students don't take advantage of that should. This is for students who might be interested in, maybe in high school you had somebody help take your notes or you were able to record certain lectures. These are resources that you can use there. There's also one-on-one appointments with our student accounts office. So I know there were a lot of questions about financial aid. You can actually utilize our queue list system when you're a student here, and that will connect you to student accounts where rather than calling or waiting on hold, you can actually reserve your time slot with them right off the bat. In terms of our mentoring program that we have a lot based on what Kendra just said. One aspect of our mentoring program that we're really proud of because it's brand new is our first generation student mentoring program. It just kicked off this past fall in Pleasantville. We have about 20 mentors and 20 mentees. And what's great about the program, as kind of Kendra alluded to, is we pair current incoming students, so freshmen or transfer students, with a sophomore, junior, or senior student of the same major. We do our best to have them be the same major because your experience could be a little bit different, whether you're a nursing student, a theater student. And this person, you exchange emails, you exchange phone numbers, but the whole point is if you have a question while you're walking to class, while you're having dinner and you don't know who to go to, you ask your mentor. Your mentor will likely know the answer because, as Kendra mentioned, they've been in your shoes before. They know how to find who their advisor is. They know where to go on campus. And if they don't know the answer, that's what we're here for. Kayla and I handle the mentoring program in Pleasantville, so we're staff resources that you can come to. and Sev is getting things up and running in New York. But to kind of give you, an idea of some of the programs that we do this coming semester, January is National Mentor Month. So we're doing a virtual program to get all of our first gen students together this coming Friday to network and get to know each other. We also are offering resume workshops. That way our students can work with our professionals in career services to kind of get their resume in a good place and hopefully attend our internship and job fair, where they can hopefully get a job or at least get your resume in a good place to increase your chances. And we do also have a great group of alumni. We have an alumni networking program where you can connect with an alum who's first gen and talk to them about their experience. What was it like when they were applying for their first job? Did they have any challenges? What odds did they have to beat? So we have all this available. We're open to new ideas if our students have things that they want to do. This past year, we had a book grant where it was exclusive to first gen students, and you just had to write a little entry about what it meant to be kind. And, depending if you won, it was $100 to go towards your books for the spring semester. So we have tons and tons of things that we're doing in the mentoring program. We want our students to be active and involved. And I'll turn it over to Seb in case I missed anything in terms of resources.
No, I think you covered everything. Like Erica said, I'm going to be working with the mentoring program on the New York City campus, relatively new. We're starting to recruit mentors this semester with the hopes of launching the mentor program in the fall. So if you are attending PACE in the fall and you're interested in being getting a mentor, you'll want to connect with me at some point, and we can drop my email in the chat, and you can just email me directly.
And as we're talking about the mentoring program, when it comes time for accepted student days, if you've applied to PACE, I know we have a few folks here who have probably gotten into PACE, there will be a time where you will receive information, you'll get texts or emails about these programs. So if it's something that sounds interesting, sounds something that might be helpful for you, you will get communication as we get closer to having you officially be a PACE student to kind of help navigate, those questions for you and to get you a mentor as soon as possible in case you have questions before the academic year starts. And real quick, you have a lot of time, but if you're starting to, go shopping, ordering things online through Amazon, maybe going to the store, here's just kind of a quick cheat sheet on some of the things you should start thinking about in terms of what to bring to college, what not to bring. I know it's always helpful to have a laundry basket, maybe a shower caddy, and definitely try to avoid some of the larger items like grills, pets. Lamps with plastic covers is a big one that RAs don't like to see. And Kayla is our orientation expert here on this chat today. So she's going to talk through kind of some items, summer checklist, and next steps that you should be on the lookout for, just to kind of help you keep moving in the right direction before enrolling at PACE.
So I work with orientation on the Pleasantville campus, and Sev here works with orientation on the New York City campus. You'll definitely be seeing both of us this summer when you enroll in PACE and have our orientation program. So for students who will be enrolling for fall 2021, we have a checklist available for you that details all the things that we need from you over the summer. We call it your applicant dashboard. And when you log in, you will either see a green check for what you have completed and a red X for things that we still need from you. Some of those items are listed here. So you want to make sure that you file your FAFSA and accept any financial aid. FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and that gives all your financial aid, or gives that information to financial aid so they can determine what aid packages they can offer to you. If you want to accept those packages or awards, you need to accept it, and that will be taken into account on your tuition bill. Make sure you complete your placement exams. We will ask you to complete the placement exams. First year students for English and for math, so that advisors can know which classes to schedule for you. If you plan on taking a language while at PACE, you might also be asked to take the language placement exam if you've taken previously in that same language in high school or at a different university. We're currently planning orientation for this summer. And so we don't yet know whether it will be all virtual as we did this past summer, or if we will be able to offer any on-campus experiences. This summer, we did do all virtual sessions on Zoom, and we paired that with what we call the PreOrientation Modules. And those are basically lessons on a website, and that teaches, or each new student goes through that. You read about departments, resources on campus, watch videos to learn about academic advising, a video on how to navigate the online systems that we use, and things like that. Submitting your PACE ID card photo. So you will be able to upload a headshot that you can use as your ID photo. They do have some guidelines, like I know they prefer a white background behind you. You know, you shouldn't wear sunglasses or hats. There shouldn't be anyone else in the photo. Just makes it easier and quicker for our colleagues in the ID card office to have your card ready for you in the fall. And PACE automatically adds health insurance to your account. And if you choose not to use PACE's health insurance, you know, perhaps you have your own already, or you're on a family member's plan, you have to waive the insurance, say you don't want the insurance, or it will be charged on your bill. University healthcare also asks for your immunization records to be sent to them. So be aware of that in case perhaps you need a doctor's appointment this summer, or you need to get in touch with your healthcare provider so they can send that, you can send that information to PACE. And it is very important to send in your transcripts, whether that's your high school transcripts or any college credit or AP credits you may have received. If you're a transfer student, you'll get a transfer credit evaluation. So your academic advisor will be able to make your fall semester for you, know what you've already taken, what will transfer in, what won't transfer in, and just make sure you have the schedule that's perfect for you.
And at this time I know questions have been coming in, and JJ and Kendra and Alexa have been answering some of those questions. But if anyone has any questions about any content from, you know, the PowerPoint, you have a question for JJ and Kendra, feel free to put those in the chat. We'll be monitoring and answering them. But one question that I will go to Kendra and JJ for that came in before the webinar was, what is something that maybe you wish you knew before you started at PACE that would have been helpful that you didn't know?
One thing that I really didn't look into that I wish I did was all of the different resources and things that I could get involved in on campus. Like coming in, that made me feel really comfortable. And after like I talked to all of my other friends, like their schools, they didn't have as much programming for like incoming students, so they had a harder time making friends. So I definitely say like just looking at the things that you can get involved in, because I think that really will make or break your experience. Just like meeting people and getting comfortable will really help you feel part of the PACE community. So that's something to look for when deciding.
Before I came, one thing that I was looking forward to was trying to find a job around campus. But my first year, I didn't have my car on campus, you know, so how was I gonna travel, you know, too far if I, you know, can drive? So PACE has like endless opportunities for jobs on campus. I couldn't even name all of them. And they're like very available to you. This past summer, I worked in orientation with Kayla as an orientation leader, which was a blast, and I definitely recommend it. And so I also work at, you know, our information technology services help desk, and I also work in our office of multicultural affairs. So it's very easy and it's very accessible for jobs on campus. And it's just another way to get involved, and it helps me wake up in the morning, keeps my schedule on point. If that makes sense.
Thank you, Kendra and JJ. We do have a question that I think is important for us to touch on. Someone sent in a question: how does being FirstGen shape the way you see college as an institution? I think one thing that's really important is, because we have so many FirstGen students from the New York City and Pleasantville campus, our FirstGen students are a specific population that we really emphasize in a way that we might not the rest of the student body in a certain way. It's a unique, special community that we do have these mentoring programs for, and we do have these events just for our FirstGen students. While all of our campus resources like the counseling center, programming we have available to all of our students, we really do prioritize our first gen students when it comes to the programs that we do. Not every single group on campus has specific programs, has, you know, graduation events relating to being first gen. I know Kayla does a great job doing a senior send-off program for our first gen students, which is a great little celebration for our senior first gen students. So I think that's something that's really important. I also saw in the chat about how campus is right now in terms of programs due to COVID. Kayla and Seb, do you briefly want to kind of chat about some of our in-person and virtual programs that we've had going on and how we've been navigating the pandemic while still keeping students involved?
Yeah, I can start. I'm speaking on the New York City campus, but I feel like Pleasantville is very similar. We're doing the best we can. I think we are working with all available spaces and all student groups. We're doing a lot of collaborative events. So our student organizations on the New York City campus are in the fall submitted event requests for anything in person that we would partner with them to do. And these events ranged from in-person movie nights and some game nights and things like that, all abiding by any and all COVID restrictions that have been put in place. But we in our office have been doing a lot of in-person giveaway type of events, pop-up events, passive programming. So as I said, we're doing the best we can given the current restrictions. But Kayla, I know you all have a little bit more space on the Pleasantville campus, so you might want to talk some more about some of the things you all have been doing.
Right. Yeah, we are very fortunate to have a lot of green outdoor spaces on the Pleasantville campus. And so before the weather changed on us, we were doing quite a few things outdoors. It was easier to maintain social distancing. Obviously, we still encouraged everyone to wear face coverings. If it was something we were waiting in line for, we put duct tape on the ground 6 feet apart just to ensure everyone was staying apart. And we utilize a campus engagement system that I won't go into detail, but we call it Setter Sync. And there's events on there. We put all our events on there. So when you enroll in PACE and you want to know what's going on, you just go to Setter Sync. But we utilized it as an RSVP system. So if we would only have 50 students at an outdoor event, we would utilize that RSVP system to make sure we weren't going over those New York State guidelines.
We have another question that I think would be great for Kendra and JJ to weigh in on. Who has been someone at PACE that's been helpful towards reaching your goal of ultimately graduating?
So PACE has a career service office where there are career counselors trained in each discipline at PACE. And the Lubin, I'm a business major, the Lubin Counselor has been extremely helpful to me and helped me become successful. They have helped me put my resume together, do interview prep, actually apply and get some internships, as well as help me think about the future and how I want to move forward when I graduate and securing a job when I graduate PACE.
For me, I would say it's definitely a student here who's actually my RA. He lives right next door to me. His name, you probably know his name. His name is Brandon Jokum. He's heavily involved on campus. He's a nursing major. He's got 4 jobs on campus, and he still juggles all of that. And he still makes time, to check up on me every now and then and make sure that I'm doing well in my classes. And it's just been really helpful, and I really think he's the embodiment of the PACE community.
And I see there's some questions coming in that I think will also be helpful for our students to address, and feel free to tackle either of these questions or both. But what was your freshman experience like? And maybe what was your favorite part about your freshman experience, or just your favorite thing about PACE so far in your college journey?
So as a freshman, I knew I wanted to be really involved and connected on campus, especially as a commuter student. So one of the first things that I did as a freshman, I joined a bunch of clubs. I joined a leadership program where I got to meet a bunch of students before the year actually started. I attended a bunch of events on campus. So I'd say my freshman year, I mean, still now, but especially as my freshman year, I was really involved on campus. I got a job at a student-run business, things like that. I also jumped into a study abroad program. So after my freshman year, for 3 weeks over the summer, I studied abroad in Italy with 3 friends that I met. So that was definitely a really cool experience to be able to share that with people that I had met at PACE.
My favorite thing from freshman year was getting proved wrong. I was coming into university thinking that I was gonna wake up, go to class, come back, do my homework, and go to sleep. And that quickly changed into waking up, going to an event, going to class, eating, meeting up with some friends, going to another event, going to class, going home, or not home, but to my residence hall, doing my homework, and then going to sleep just to wake up early again to go to another event or hang out with some friends. I really didn't want myself to get so involved and get distracted from my academics. But now I've proven to myself that I can be very involved and still, have a good GPA and balance out my social and academic life pretty well.
And we did have a question about what the difference is between the Pleasantville and the New York City campus. I will say we are one PACE, we are one university, but our campuses are a little bit different. Obviously, the New York City campus is located in the city. Some of the programs like the PACE Performing Arts program is exclusive to the city. The Pleasantville campus is only about a 50-minute train ride from New York City. It is a little bit quieter. It's more in a small town as opposed to a city where there's a little downtown where you can, walk to different places while still kind of having a quieter type atmosphere compared to the city. So it really does depend on, what you're looking for in terms of your college experience. If you're really not sure in both types of campuses, sound like something you can be interested in, I'd really recommend visiting both. They're not far away. You could probably, depending on our admissions events, you could probably do a visit in one day to see both campuses and kind of compare them. So that's kind of a quick answer to the difference between the two campuses. I see that there's a question on who can help if I'm having problems on campus. There's a lot of different people you can reach out to. It really depends on what particular problem that you're having. All students have a first year academic advisor who they really help keep you on track in terms of your courses, or if you're having academic related issues, they're kind of your primary point of contact. But, you could always go to different instructors. There might be an instructor that you feel most comfortable with. If there's, mental health concerns possibly, or you're just having a tough time adjusting to the college environment, you can always go to our counseling center. If you're having trouble figuring out, what clubs and organizations might be best for you, you can always see myself, Kayla, or Sev. We're great about connecting students to different clubs, organizations. So it really does depend on what particular area you might be having trouble. But regardless as to what it is, there will be someone on the campus that can help you, and we'll make sure that you get in touch with the best possible person. Those are all the questions I have seen. I'm not sure if I missed any. Are there any other questions? I'm seeing that. Oh, here's one. What services are available to help students make a successful transition to college life? Kayla or Seb, do you want to briefly touch on for how sometimes our orientation, we will try to get our students together to kind of get them started their first, week or two of school?
Sure. We designed the orientation program to really give you a great first step into the PACE community. I know this past summer when we did a virtual program, we made sure to include what we thought were perhaps the most important things from our in-person program. If we're going to give you in a virtual program, we want to make sure that it's things you absolutely need. So we talked a lot about how to get involved on campus, whether that was from our Office of Multicultural Affairs, our student development campus activities, where Sev and I both work, our PACE athletics on the Pleasantville campus. We also talked about healthy relationships, consent, and Title IX information, residence life, commuter life. We had those sessions for students, depending if you're living on campus or if you're commuting to campus. We also talked about what we call the keys to success. And so those were things like navigating, what do I need my ID card for? Can you give me information about the meal plan or dining on campus? What is the registrar's office? Why would I need to visit that office? Financial aid, things like that, that are perhaps the most important things you need to know early on. And then Sev, would you like to talk about the pre-orientation modules, what was covered on those?
Yeah, definitely. I would also just add, I feel as though the orientation program and the weeks of welcome program really do assist with that transition. I think JJ hit the nail on the head in the chat. He talked about a lot of the students that you are going to meet throughout your orientation and transition process to PACE. So each student receives an orientation leader, and that person kind of helps guide you throughout the summer. When you get to campus, you start in University 101. And you receive a peer leader. That student and your academic advisor also kind of helps you throughout your first year on campus. You also always have your orientation leader, your residential assistant, if you live on campus. So there's a lot of peer assistance as well as faculty and staff assistance. But just to touch on the pre-orientation modules, before orientation, we also provide our students, as Kayla mentioned earlier, with a bit of a online lessons about everything that you can think of regarding onboarding to PACE. So we try our best to provide as much information as possible, especially this past year when we were virtual. We wanted to provide students with as much information before we got to our live Zoom orientation program. It's a series of different modules where you're learning different lessons on getting acclimated. There's a welcome from the president, a lot about our systems and our onboarding processes and registration. So those programs, if you do choose to come to PACE, you'll see within your first few months of getting accepted, you'll get some information about that.
And I know we're coming close to being done on time, so I'll throw one last question out here for our students before we wrap up. And I'm putting up here our contact information in case anyone has questions about being a FirstGen student that maybe we didn't answer, you'd like to chat with us separately about them. But the last question I think that's really important for our students here to address is, how do you manage, a workload, having on-campus jobs? Kendra, I know you're commuting also on top of, doing well in school and maybe seeking help for courses you're struggling in. So Kendra and JJ, if you can maybe chat or give some kind of tip or advice. I know you guys were typing in the chat, but if you want to, share out loud any tips you have for our students or families on here that might be helpful.
I definitely say a planner. I live by my planner. Anyone that knows me knows how crazy I am about my planner. I write everything down for my classes that I'm involved in for work. It helps me keep track of everything and visually see how I'm using my time. So that's definitely been really helpful for me. But also, I think it's just like trial and error and like learning yourself and your limits. I think at times I've definitely taken on too much and have had to adjust. And there are other times where I've been able to add more to my plate. But definitely as you get more comfortable on campus and more comfortable with your classes, you'll have less nerves or like worries about that stuff. And you'll be able to begin to take on more club involvement and things like that. So I think as you adjust, it becomes easier as well.
One piece of advice that helped me stay organized through university. I mean, Kayla heard it all summer. I try to treat college like a 9-to-5 job. Wake up at 9, start your homework or whatever, just to get ahead, or anything you're behind on, and then you have classes and whatnot, and then at 5, you can kind of slow down, maybe get some homework done, maybe hang out with some friends. But if you treat it like that 5 days a week, that's 40 hours of schooling that you're doing with events and whatnot. So it seems, silly, but it's definitely very helpful.
And I know there are some questions and have been some questions about scholarships and financial aid. The best people that you can chat with are your admissions counselors. So I know Alexa put her email in the chat. If you are a student that had a question about that, definitely email Alexa and she can get you in touch with one of our financial aid experts on campus. Our financial literacy counselors are great. Students who are actually part of our FirstGen mentoring program, we offer one-on-one sessions with our financial literacy counselors. So each semester, when it comes time to think about, paying tuition or any, expenses relating to college on your account, they're happy to sit down with you and walk you through those steps. Whether you have questions about loans, your balance, they're a really great resource. So definitely email Alexa or wherever your admissions counselor is, and they can connect you to the appropriate person to answer those more specific questions from a financial perspective. Other than that, Alexa, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, but I think that wraps up our session. Again, this is all of our contact information here. So if you're interested in being part in the Pleasantville or the New York City mentoring program for FirstGen students, definitely reach out, let us know. And if you just have questions about, the process, or if there's anything we can do to help, we're here for you. Utilize us, we're resources. And if we don't know the answer, we'll make sure we get you to the person that does. And special thanks to Kendra and JJ for taking time out of their busy school day. It's the second day of the semester. So for the two of you to be here to join us to chat about your experience, we really appreciate it. So thanks for joining, everyone. And Alexa, if there's anything that you want to add, by all means.
No, thank you all so much. We appreciate all of the information and experiences, and we have a ton of contact information in the chat, so feel free to save those emails, whether it's reaching out to the students, asking them more about their experiences, sending me questions about financial aid. Erica said it a few times already, but we really are here to help and support you through this process and make your life easier. So don't hesitate to reach out. Everyone here is more than happy to help you navigate those next steps. But for tonight, thank you again, everyone who's been involved. Thank you all for coming. Keep an eye on our YouTube page. The recording will be posted there within a week or two. And until then, don't hesitate to reach out. Like I said, we're more than happy to help get you onto campus in the fall. So everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and have an amazing evening.